And we are back, episode 12 of GMA Beyond the Fight podcast, Gods of Martial Arts, an innovative mixed martial arts promotion that not only celebrates ancient martial arts traditions, but treats fighters as celebrities. And we have a special guest with us today who needs no introduction, one of the best showmen in not only Vietnam, but all of Southeast Asia, Carey Wass.
Hey, it's been a long time coming. You can call me Carey. You can call me Xavier Patricks, aka the expat, Vietnam Pro Wrestling, Zac. We've been discussing this for a long time.
Yes.
And now, baby, we're here. Gods of Martial Arts, Beyond the Fight.
You have so many names on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I type in Carey, I'm like, oh no, it's like, X Patrick or something.
Yeah. So
you have all these different.
Listen, there's this documentary series that just came out on Netflix. It's called WWE Unreal, and all the wrestlers go through kind of giving off their Rolodex of names. So for me, it's Carey's my birth name. My wrestler name is Xavier Patricks because I am the expat ring announcer. So yeah, and then social media gets confusing. I have more than a few people who call me Xavier. Some of them just call me expat. So yeah. Whatever you want to call me today, I'm good with it.
I'm going to call you Carey to keep it simple.
Let's do it. Carey, my mom's going to maybe be very happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are at Lean Foam, and you've been here a few times. And you're a showman yourself, and you understand like the aesthetics, the feel, the music, the aura of what goes into a show and everything that goes along with it better than anyone I know, other than Johnny. How do you feel here when you're at Lean Foam?
Well, it's interesting, right? So I know this space for like a few different reasons. Obviously, I come to the Gods of Martial Arts show. I try to sit front row every single time. So for me, the space represents like the home of the best martial arts in all of Vietnam. But in terms of Vietnam Pro Wrestling, I mean, this place, it's part of our foundation for our guys who founded Vietnam Pro Wrestling, Rocky, Sid, Andy. When they first trained, Lean Foam was the home of their initial training days. So it's nice to be back and to kind of see how much this space is given back to not only Vietnam Pro Wrestling, but now the martial arts community. So it's very special. For anyone that's not come here to see a GMA show or just come here to visit in general, I mean, you're missing out. There's no place like this in Southeast Asia. I mean, this truly is something unique. It's like one part martial arts gym, one part production studio, and one part like an oasis resort.
Yeah.
That also has amazing dogs that just hang out next to you here, which I love.
Yeah, and your anxiety just decreases.
Yeah.
When you're here, like the sound of the water. Sometimes they have music. They've got this whole aura. They got all the plants and everything. They got the lake here, the little pond.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's very like zen.
Very zen.
Yeah. So Lean Foam's been around for 7-8 years, almost a decade. Mm-hmm. One of the primary influences in mixed martial arts here in Vietnam.
Yep.
Led by Johnny.
Yep.
He comes from a family of martial arts, and he's carrying on that tradition.
Yeah.
In a very cinematic way, as we all know. And you've been to a few Gods of Martial Arts events. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That GMA hasn't even hit its first birthday yet. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it. I mean, it's been amazing to see how GMA has grown and kind of helped redefine martial arts here. Because, obviously as a person in VPW, Vietnam Pro Wrestling, we're sports entertainment. But what I love about GMA is that this is a place that understands that, yes, you are meant to be creating and enhancing a sport. But what I love is that it's also equal parts entertainment.
Yes.
Right, from the production to the entrances to the customized music. To me, it resonates a lot because that's what we try to do in pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's not just about what happens in the ring. It's the stories behind each matchup. It's the entrances. It's the way that you incorporate the audience. And you could see at any GMA show, it's electric, and that's an atmosphere that I actually thought that I was proud to think that VPW was like the home to the most electric audiences. And GMA, I would say, is equal to that, People are on their feet, they're cheering. And it's really nice to see how it's equal parts sports, it's equal part entertainment. And the winners at the end of the day, I always say this, the winners is the fans, right? The people sitting in the seats. And that's our number one focus of VPW, is like fan focused. And oh my gosh, Like the GMA is home to fan-focused live entertainment.
I mean, GMA does such a great job.
Yeah.
Let's say you don't know anything about martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, especially the GMA 3, which was at Ho Tram last year. You have stories of both fighters taken from interviews days before, professional production. The audience is emotionally involved before the fight starts.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter if you know martial arts or not. You are connected.
Yeah.
You know, just like VPW. VPW fans are a part of the show.
Yeah.
They are a part of the show. And you saw last night at GMA 07 that it was electrifying.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you can make, with pro wrestling, one of the things is like, you want someone to either love you, to hate you, and the worst thing that an audience member could be is indifferent. So that means they don't have an opinion no matter who wins. And that's like, that's not what you want in pro wrestling, right? And so what I loved about what GMA is doing is that they build a connection to the fighters. And it's not that you have to love or hate anyone, it's that you feel a connection to both people that are in the ring. You understand the sacrifices that they've made, coming from whether it be Myanmar, from Vietnam, or beyond, right? You have a certain type of connection to what they've given up to be here and fight on that stage. And when those stakes are felt by the audience gets more involved in the fight because there's something at stake to them, and that's their feelings, their opinions, they care, they're invested in it, right?
Yes.
And so I really love the work that GMA is doing to do that, you know, to build up these guys' reputations. And at the end of the day, the other thing with pro wrestling is you can either win, you can lose, and there's always a comeback. There's always a next thing. And so even in the fighters that, you know, didn't get the victory, it's amazing to see that there's still going to be an opportunity for them to bounce back in some way. The audience wants to see them come back, and that's an important thing in martial arts. Boxing, it's kind of like you're one and done, one loss and it's over. But what I love about GMA is like you care so much for these fighters that win or lose, you want to see that guy get a next shot. And it's an amazing platform to see that people are like, you know, they care as much as they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy because, you know, last night they gave the belts out.
Yeah, beautiful belts.
We had, you know, 5 different countries.
Yeah,
including Vietnam. Mm-hmm. The championship belts were given to 4 international.
Yeah.
Right, Cambodia, Malaysia, Myanmar, and Thailand. Right. If you won the belt, you have etched in the belt God of Martial Arts in your native language.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, well, I can tell you a story. So after the fights, I was with my wife and her 2 friends. And so we went to the front just to take a picture. You have like a beautiful kind of area where you can take a picture with the backdrop. And there was a fighter from Cambodia who won last night. He won the championship. And
So
GMA was nice enough to kind of put the belt in what looked to be like almost this wooden case with glass on it, you know? It really elevated the title. And and it made it look next level. And so we said like, hey, can we get a picture? And the guy took a picture for us, but then we're like, actually, we want a picture with you. And can you show us your belt? So we took a picture with him, and then he ended up showing us the belt. And there's nothing more beautiful than seeing, you know what I mean? Like when you see like a human spirit realize they've achieved something wonderful, right? And the belt is just a physical object, but it was a sign that he's done something amazing. And it was so awesome to see him like hold this up with pride and realize that kind of everything he's done before that day, it was worth the sacrifice to get that moment and to be validated. He was so humble. It was almost like he thought like it was bothersome for us to ask him to hold the belt up. You know, he's like so humble. And it's like, no, we want you to like, no, we're marking out. Marking out is a wrestling term for like fanboying out. We were fanboying out for him. And so it was just a nice
That kid's moment. 18 years old.
Wild.
18 years old and already a prodigy in Cambodia.
Amazing.
And they're really proud because they've been doing Kun Khmer for, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And they're really proud to show that, hey, you know, we can take this and we can go to MMA and we can be successful in the MMA rule set. Not only that, we can adapt.
Right.
We can work on our grappling, we can work on different forms of striking and things like that. And that's what Cambodia top team really wants to show the world. They really want to show that. The teams out of Cambodia, they want to, number one, put Kun Khmer on the global stage. And number two, show that they can compete with the best in MMA. and they are so passionate about it. And Cambodia Top Team is one of the better examples.
Well, to connect that to kind of what I'm doing with Vietnam Pro Wrestling, so obviously like we're Vietnam Pro Wrestling, but we do feature talent from places like Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore. And so what I love what you're doing with the talent here is like you're giving these foreign, fighters a platform to really be, put center stage and to not only have their careers enhanced, but also the reputation of the martial art forms from their own countries. And with VPW, it's similar. It's been amazing to see how we've been able to support young talent. I mean, you talked about this guy, he was 18, and we've had similar talent. We have wrestlers from Malaysia that are still in university, and they'll kind of, break from their studies to come over and wrestle for us for a weekend, and to see the Vietnamese fans and our local fans really rally them on, and to see their skills growing, and for them to be able to showcase the wrestling that they've learned in Malaysia or Singapore or Thailand. It's just like it's a beautiful thing because, whether it be martial arts or pro wrestling, you're really collectively celebrating and sharing culture.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just been nice to see that what GMA is doing to kind of platform these individuals, we try to do the same thing. And there's nothing greater than seeing the face, for us, the wrestlers, for you, the fighters, nothing greater than seeing the smiles they get after realizing, like, I can't believe I did it. I'm one step closer to, becoming where I want to be, and whatever that might be, their trajectory. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a few questions.
Let's hear it.
You're one of the most passionate people I know about anything. But in terms of showmanship,
right?
Where did you get this passion from on putting on shows, and how do you approach putting on shows, and how do you find the people that are passionate about it, and how do you build this, and how did you get Jericho here, and things like that?
There's a lot, yeah.
And anything happened when you were young that contributed to this? What is it?
Yeah. So I think so. There's a couple things. So one, if I were to go back in my working memory, all right, everybody knows when you're like a baby until you're like 3 years old, it's a little bit of a write-off, you don't really remember much. But if I were to kind of go back into my memory bank and think about one of the strongest first kind of like form memories, it would be WrestleMania 6. Hulk Hogan, rest in peace, versus the Ultimate Warrior, rest in peace. It was in my hometown, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I wasn't there live, but I remember seeing a VHS. My Uncle John showed it to me. And I got to see for the first time these two titans, these two muscular men, no CGI.
How old were you?
I mean, I guess I would have been 6, 5 or 6, right?
Wow.
So I was quite young, but I remember just sitting there and seeing these two. They were both superheroes, both good guys. And in front of the sold-out Skydome, a place that I would see the Toronto Blue Jays, the crowd screaming and cheering, both wanting either one to win. And it really resonated with me, because before that time, I didn't really know that you could kind of behave like that. I grew up in a town called Barrie, Ontario, and it was wonderful. Like, I have some of my best friends there, my family's there. But it really opened my eyes that, Ultimate Warrior had face paint. Hogan's doing the whole ear. And that was kind of my first entry in terms of pro wrestling coming into my life. And it's been part of my life since that time. And then the second thing would be in terms of showmanship. On my feet right now, I have Ace Ventura shoes. Okay, so for those of you who are unfamiliar, Ace Ventura was the breakout film for a Canadian actor, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so one of the biggest comedic actors of all time. And I remember seeing that as a kid, everybody on the playground doing the, alrighty then, and the big facial expressions. And that was another time where I realized that, cartoon characters are not just cartoons. Like, you could actually kind of be theatrical and over the top. And so when I was younger, I started to kind of be a little bit more of an entertainer and try to be like Jim Carrey and flex and do my wrestling stuff. But the thing that I always was worried about was I always thought I just didn't have the physicality to be a wrestler. I was worried that I wasn't tough enough. So my passion took me towards the theater realm. I went to an arts high school where I focused on drama. In university, I studied theater, where I kind of learned about how to produce shows and act and writing. And I ended up pursuing acting when I was in Toronto. I had the
Really?
opportunity. Yeah, I did some film and TV work. I guess some big things that some people might know. I did a show called Ride the Cyclone, which is a big musical theater show now that was based in Canada. I did a show called Beyblade, where I was like a voice for this popular Japanimation show. So the acting
Can
thing.
we find this on YouTube?
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's Ride the Cyclone stuff, and there's things in terms of Beyblade for sure. But in terms of acting, I felt like I was a bit trapped. There's always an audition around the corner. And so I really knew that I wanted to move abroad. So I moved to South Korea for a year, liked the teaching aspect of it.
How old were you?
At that point, I was in my late 20s. And so at that point, I liked teaching and I liked living in Asia. came back, got my teaching degree, and then came to Vietnam, 2015, to become a drama teacher.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And then this is kind of when my life in terms of getting back into pro wrestling took a turn. It's 2017. 2017, I'm looking online to see if I can kind of find some wrestling community. You know, is there a group out there that also loves wrestling as much as I do? And I stumbled across the Saigon Pro Wrestling Club. They were training right here, Linh Phum. And they told me they had a show. And so I said, I'll get 30 tickets. And the founder, Rocky, he said, no, you can't bring 30 people. And so I was a little bit kind of like, well, how many can I bring? He said 4, which is odd, right? You'd think I could bring 30. He wanted 4. And so he told me the location. It was a dusty gym in D10 where they were doing judo. The mat was rock hard. And I came in with my wife and 2 other friends, and we watched for the next, 45 minutes to an hour. Some of the guys who are still in VPW today bounce around on a judo mat, kind of wearing tights with wrestling entrances, giving it their best. And that was the first time I was introduced to the guys. And that was one of their first ever shows. But little did I know that they would kind of become what they are today, which is the fastest growing pro wrestling promotion.
Yes.
And there's a long story to it, but in terms of going back to showmanship,
So after that first show,
Sure.
you saw Rocky.
Yep.
And was it his first year doing VPW?
Yeah, so that's a great question. 2015 is when they started. So Rocky, the founder of the company, after high school realized that he wanted to become a professional wrestler. But there was no one really doing it. So he reached out, to see if there's people who might want to train with him. And he discovered some of the people who are still with today. The Prince of Wrestling, Sid and Win, the National Treasure, Andy. And they trained at Linh Phum, but they used YouTube videos as opposed to having a head coach. And they just were a club, and they wanted to practice moves. It was then over time they started to kind of build their skill set up. They started to get to train with some people in Da Nang and had someone come here and train them in some parks.
Yep.
But then I saw them in 2017, and it was very inspiring. In 2018, though, I left Vietnam. And it was at that point that those guys really started to get the ball rolling. They started to increase their shows. They did them in dance studios, and they would start to draw crowds. Still no ring, but they had a little bit of a crash mat, you know what I mean? And that's when one of our head of creative, Jody, discovered them and helped kind of form their storylines and build them up from that perspective, the creative side.
So those first 3 years, 2015
Sure.
to 2018, what was your involvement? And what kind of conversations did you have
Yep.
with Rocky? And did you guide them?
No, I was just one of the first foreigners to come see them perform. I could have never imagined where we'd be today. I actually don't even know why I went online to look that up, if that makes sense. Like where I am now today with them and where we started, I don't know how that happened. So that's been one of the weirdest things, is kind of like, I guess you could look at it as like fortuitous or fate, but it's one of the weirdest and coolest things ever that, we ended up becoming where we are today.
Incredible. I mean, easily top 10 in the world. You've got like the ones in America,
Sure,
like WWE and things like that. Outside of that,
yeah,
what are the top 5?
So
outside of America.
So there's tiers, right? So you could look at like the top tier being kind of like the WWE. That would be number 1, right?
Yep.
Then you have places like TNA, and then you have AEW, All Elite Wrestling, where Chris Jericho's at. And then from there's kind of bigger independent promotions. And in terms of Southeast Asia, I would say that from a global scale, and world recognition, we'd be number one and the fastest rising, right? We have some of the biggest crowds. And we've just been very fortunate to have some people enter our lives that have helped us get to that place. I mean, to kind of go back to in the story, when they were wrestling in dance studios on a mat, that wasn't ever going to get them to where we are now, right? They needed a wrestling ring. Mm-hmm. And that's when a woman named Viva Van, she's now part of All Elite Wrestling with Chris Jericho. She's Vietnamese American. She found them online. She found Rocky and Sid and the Saigon Pro Wrestling Club, they were called at the time. And her and a Japanese wrestler named Sumi Sakai, alongside VPW, well, Saigon Pro Wrestling Club at the time, they did a GoFundMe. And they got all the money they needed to fundraise the manufacturing of the first ever pro wrestling ring in Vietnam history.
That is incredible.
Insane. Yeah. And again, it goes back to fate. Like, how did Viva think to look online, and what prompted her to do that?
Yeah.
And then it ended up getting them a wrestling ring, which is what has allowed them to be where we are today. You know, because the ring is the stage.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
So you left in 2018, then you came back.
I left in 2018, and the intention was for my wife and I to stay in Canada. Obviously, 2020 rolls around, we get the pandemic, which upended many of our plans. I was teaching drama, she was teaching at the same time, but we kind of looked at one another and we thought, maybe we should move abroad again. And the first place we wanted to go to was Penang. And then my wife, she goes, Bernadette, she goes, what about Vietnam again? We're familiar with it, let's go back there. So we ended up coming back out here, and while in lockdown, I reached out to VPW. They now had a ring. They had nothing, they could do no show because they were locked down. And I said, you guys have some matches. Do you want me to do some English commentary? And obviously they're a bit hesitant because they're kind of like, we know who you are, Carey, but like, why, you know? So I just did it. I just did commentary for them and sent it to them and said, here's what it would sound like. And they said, yeah, can you do more of that? So I did that, and then after lockdown, when the country was still locked down, but people were able to do live events, they asked me if I would do some ring announcing. And that's really when I started to get more involved. And I created the character Xavier Patrick's, the expat, and...
You were kind of shaping VPW, right? Would you say that? Were you kind of like a visionary? You saw some... I mean, they were doing this one thing, but, I mean, of course, you have more of a global perspective, and you have this experience. Would you say that you kind of had a vision and you were connecting the dots, ideas bounced off each other, multiplied?
You know what? Well, it's interesting. It's probably similar with GMA. Like, everything has been a team effort.
Yeah.
So I would not be able to be in the position I was in unless it was the guys who gave me the opportunity. And for Jody, the head of creative, to welcome me in as well.
Yep.
But for me, like, my skill set is that I have to be the dreamer, and I realize I could be the person to have the ruthless, almost ambition that maybe some of them don't see in themselves.
Yes.
I was never going to become a professional wrestler, you know, but I believe that they could. And I believe that they had the opportunity to be where they are today and even beyond that. So it's almost like being like a father or a big brother and thinking like, you don't see your potential, but I do. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to where we are, it's 100% a team effort, right? We would not be here unless it was for the work that the guys put in the ring, much like your fighters. You know, you can put all the bells and whistles. I can have all the vision I want. I can put all the plans that I like. But if it's not what happens in the ring that is keeping people coming back, then we don't really have much of anything. But in terms, it's been the most inspiring, hard, emotionally turbulent thing that I've ever done, because, there's so many roadblocks, as I'm sure that, GMA will probably face and they already have faced. But I always keep telling myself, just like the Cambodian guy, right, when he's holding the belt, right? It's like that took years for him to get there.
Yep.
And now he's got the reward. And for me, it's like, I know it's never going to be an easy path, but it's been rewarding to kind of chip away and build something beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really want to pick your brain on, like, how do you improve the shows every time? Like, what is unique about VPW that you really focus on? And because a VPW show, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just pro wrestling, it's just fake wrestling, whatever. You know what I mean? And the first time I went, I was like, yeah, I like it, but I'll go. But there's so much energy in the crowd. Like every single person there, all 500 people are just as much a part of the show as the wrestlers are.
Right.
How do you make that happen? And then we'll lead into comparisons with GMA.
Okay, so my thing is always this: under promise, over deliver. So we know that in the context of Vietnam, as you suggested, right, people are going to walk through the door, and if they've never been to a show before, they might have a negative understanding of what wrestling is.
Yes.
So what we need to do is not say it's going to be way better than you think, or come in with that expectation. We welcome it, right? Because we're going to over deliver. I don't want to over promise. I want to over deliver. So that's one thing. The other thing is like, how can we make it fan friendly from start to finish? So when you walk in the door, just like you have a photo booth, right? We have Eddie's diner there with food. We have our merchandise. The wrestlers are there taking pictures with the fans.
You can talk to the wrestlers.
You can talk to the wrestlers. You can take pictures. They'll sign autographs. You can grab a beer from Heart of Darkness. And then from bell to bell, from the moment the show starts to the moment the show ends until everybody's outside of the door, right? Our goal is to make sure that the show never lets up. Keep the pace up, keep the fun up. And for the wrestlers, the big thing that I think has helped us grow is to always constantly encourage the guys to work the fans, right? Wrestling, MMA, you have to focus on your opponent, right? As soon as someone turns to the crowd, you could be in danger of getting knocked out, whereas wrestling is different. If you lay one in and then you go to the crowd, and if you're a bad guy and you kind of go like, what do you think about that? Or if you're a good guy, you point to someone and you're like, that's because of you. I got that shot because of you. That's the connection that pro wrestling needs, and what makes it special. And so I think our guys, like their level of dedication, their performance, and then I have to give tips of the cap to Jody. He's our head of creative.
Yep.
And that's something that really differentiates us in terms of like what I see like other promotions do. Jody is constantly thinking about ways to reward the fans. Because in wrestling, you can do things that actually turn fans off, right? You could book bad guys to win nonstop. So at the end of every show, the fans might be leaving disappointed. Whereas we are always trying to figure out how to reward the fans, right? And get them to kind of want more and to return. So there's these little tricks, but for me, the big thing is under promise, over deliver. And from a personal standpoint, and you've probably seen this coming to the shows, as the ring announcer and as kind of like the host, if you will, I'll never let up, right? When that show starts to the moment it goes, people will say, you don't break character, right? And it's like, I never will. That's the theater person in me. No, because in that moment, I'm not a character. I'm the expat. And as soon as I drop, then I'm telling the audience, well, your energy can dip too. I'm exhausted, so you should be. Whereas for me, it's like, no, I'm going all in so that they understand, like, I'm with you on this, because I actually legitimately am. I don't want to know much of what's going to happen in a match. I might know the winners and the losers, let's say, but even some matches I don't. I just like to see it as they do and react like they do and have that communal experience. And that's something we've done, I think, better than any, I guess it's not fair to say better than anyone else. To the best of our ability, we just love that we've been able to create a community of expats and locals alike. Everybody's a family. And you could see that last night in GMA. I'm fist bumping people. I don't even know who they are. I'm fist bumping the fighters. I'm hugging the coaches, after their fighter wins. And they're kind of going, I don't even know who this dude is. But it's the community. And when you have a community, it's unbeatable. Yeah,
for sure. And you've done a great job of, bringing in Saigon Heat. Bringing in all these different organizations that doesn't seem like they have a connection,
right?
But they do, and you make it something bigger than what it's supposed to be. And I'm very interested because we were talking earlier. What do you see in GMA, and what kind of opportunities do you see in partnering with other showmen? Even though it's not a martial arts, you're a showman.
Sure.
This is also a show.
Sure.
Right? It's almost more than a show than it is martial arts. It's a show about martial arts.
Right.
Right? So talk a little bit about like your perspective on GMA as a showman yourself,
right,
and an architect of a show where you're getting the crowd involved, much like GMA.
Right.
And then what are some ideas that you have?
Right. Well, okay, so I'll go kind of like big picture and then bring it to GMA. So you touched on the Saigon Heat, right? We've done collaborations with them. Sometimes people get in the headspace that if there's ticketed events in the same city or same region that you might be competing for eyeballs. My line of thought is always like, basketball fans will always go to basketball. Mixed martial arts fans will always go to mixed martial arts, right? They will. So we're not competing. It's not like they're going pro wrestling or mixed martial arts, pro wrestling or basketball. What we're all meant to be doing here in this region, especially Saigon, is, right? We are in the region, the city that's going to be the mecca of sports and entertainment in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
I firmly believe that, right? As fast as high rises are going up, that is where things are going up here. And if we look at each other as competitors and not as siblings, then no one wins, right? So why would someone who goes to, let's say, a Saigon Heat game want to go to a VPW event? They like entertainment. They like having core memories with their children. They like to sit there and feel a sense of community, of cheering together, of looking to a person that's a stranger and fist bumping them. That's what we're tapping into. So when we bring Saigon Heat there, I'm not saying like go see this guy because he can dunk. What I'm trying to do when we bring the Heat to our games is I'm trying to say go to a Heat game because you'll have an equal amazing time with your family and your friends, right? Whether you like basketball or not, it doesn't matter. It's the communal experience. And so with GMA, every time I come to a show, I think to myself, that's where we align, right? To me, it's so obvious. It's that you guys are building a community. I saw kids here. I saw elderly people here. I saw all genders here. And what it's not about being a fan of fighting. It's about being a fan of entertainment and community and joy.
Yes.
I always say with Vietnam Pro Wrestling, people say, oh, what do you want to do? And they'll always be like, do you want to be the biggest pro wrestling promotion, or what's your like core value? For me, it's always this: bring joy. Right? You come into our doors, you're having a bad day, you enter our space. When you leave, you will have forgotten about that.
Yes.
Right? Or at least you were able to put it aside. And that's the beautiful thing about what I felt like GMA was, you know? Who knows what people's day were like beforehand? When they entered here, they looked around and they saw each other cheering and screaming and high-fiving. And I love that about GMA. And I really think that GMA and VPW are so focused on that community building and so focused on entertainment and creating a connection with the audience. And I mean, and let's be fair, like, if you come to a VPW show, if you go to a GMA show, you're leaving with that same
and you're
feeling.
never going to forget it for the rest of your life.
No.
You will never forget it.
Similar vibe, right off the jump, right? People enter a VPW studio, literally everyone who's new, they step into the room and they pop out their cell phone and they go, I did not realize it was this large scale. They see the screens and the vendors and the wrestlers, and they're just kind of doing the whole like, oh my gosh. Same thing with GMA. Before even one fight happens, people go out there, they get their wristband, they walk in, and if you're a first comer, like we brought two friends. They stepped in here and they're like, how did I not know about this? This is insane. And that's before any bell rang, you know? And then let alone the entertainment that happens in your ring, you know? And that's the same with us. It's like, if you can win a crowd over upon entrance, the rest is just the cherry on the icing, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because just like you said, a lot of people look at VPW pro wrestling and martial arts, and there's nothing close to being the same, but it really is.
It really
is.
is.
Because the core values are there.
Yes.
Especially when you have two passionate organizations trying to deliver a unique experience to the fans, and you're not trying to compete with anyone. Right. You want to include everyone. Include everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
So what? I mean, you're probably one of the most forward-thinking, innovative, creative, events architects that I've ever met.
Well, and cheers to you. I mean, the feeling's mutual, right? Like you've been doing everything in your power to build up GMA, to bring the best talent in.
I mean, GMA's got such a great team. You know what I mean? I mean, I joined an amazing team.
Yeah, and that's the same.
You know what I mean? I joined like an incredible team that has the Hollywood level production. They've got very easy to work with. You feel a sense of trust as soon as you come here, and you don't have to question what their motives are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's easy to work with people like that.
Yeah.
Right? And so what are some opportunities that you see in VPW or other types of shows, working with Gods of Martial Arts to expand further and to benefit both organizations and to bring more people into this community that might go to GMA, that might go to VPW, that might go to Saigon Heat game.
Right.
You know, like what are some ideas that you might have?
I mean, listen, if we ended this conversation and we locked in a VPW show presented here in the beautiful GMA set, I mean, that's a win. And what a storybook ending that would be. I mean, 2015, the guys first train here, and we had the opportunity to present in front of, you know, in this GMA set. That's just insane. But the other thing is that it's all about like crossing over talent. A lot of people think like, why would, again, I go back to Saigon Heat. Why would a Saigon Heat player want to be called out at VPW, or VPW called out at a Saigon Heat game, or GMA at VPW here? It's not about being a martial arts fan and a wrestling fan. It's about being people who like to have a good time, right? It's this feeling of joy. And so for me, it's about crossing over talent, bringing talent to one another's events, calling a spotlight to them, right? Realizing that you promoting GMA in a VPW context, right? And then VPW in a GMA context. It's a win-win because we're not pushing. It's not a MMA or wrestling thing. We are both promoting, creating unforgettable events. All we're saying is we're both unforgettable. So if you thought this was unforgettable, go see them because they're unforgettable. And
could you imagine the crowd's response at VPW if Sin, the guy who won the main event last night against the Indonesian fighter, you showed a clip. You showed a clip with the commentary, right?
Yeah.
And then Sin comes in with his belt.
Unbelievable.
The GMA belt.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd would go absolutely nuts.
And listen, it's a recipe that's worked before. Ken Shamrock, when UFC was first founded, right? WrestleMania 13, he comes into a very iconic match, the I Quit match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart, okay? A legendary match, all right? Ken Shamrock comes in as the special referee enforcer in that match. You know, and the crowd, the way that they resonated having Ken there, because he adds that little element of legitimacy, for lack of better words, into a worked match. Worked meaning kind of pre-planned match, which is pro wrestling. And then you can also see, just on the biggest of scales, TKO, right? UFC and WWE are under the same umbrella. I mean, they had SummerSlam today, okay? And then you see these UFC fighters there, and now you're seeing WWE fighters at their events. Well, why? Because UFC and WWE, they're not competing. Not only are they not competing, they're now under the same umbrella. They both realize, oh, we're actually in the same business of telling stories, building up entertainment, you know, building up matchups. And so to me, it's so obvious in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible because just the words that you use, live sports entertainment.
Yeah.
And you know, when Adam and I were working together, Adam's back in Canada now, but he noticed things that I didn't. And he was like, pay attention to the words that Carey uses. Live sports entertainment. It's all encompassing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, we really grew, you know, Saigon Super Fights is just a small promotion compared to BPW, GMA, and things like that. But if it wasn't for your guidance, you know, we wouldn't really we wouldn't have gotten to where we were. And it was because of just little things that you said, the words that you used, and the understanding that this is entertainment.
Yeah,
this is entertainment, and we can partner with all these different organizations.
Yes.
We can bring so many people in. We don't need to compete with anyone. We need to partner with people.
Yes.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing, and I appreciate you saying that. One of the things with Vietnam in general that I truly believe, as I said before, like I firmly believe that this will be the home to the biggest sports entertainment. And you can see it in the marketplace, you can see it in the rising demand, you can see it in the rising middle class income, right? The disposable income, people are wanting to go to more live events. I mean, for goodness sakes, Blackpink was in Hanoi, right? That's like the biggest K-pop group in the world. Mm-hmm. So this is the time now for everyone to like put their jetpack on and to realize the opportunity they have in front of them. And I would love for every single one of the GMA fighters, for all of our wrestlers, to become businesses unto themselves, superstars. I actually challenge our wrestlers, because you always want to encourage, like I'm sure you do with your fighters, build your social media, build your brand,
yes.
Right? There's a phrase, and I'm going to get it completely wrong, so correct me in the comments. It's like a rising tide helps all something, right? But the idea is that, like, if you rise, we all rise.
Yes.
And it's important that it's not just someone like you or Johnny that have the belief in this idea, that everyone that's a part of it, and I can see that in GMA and I can see it in VPW, that we all believe that we can get to that destination. And the more they invest in themselves, and the more they invest in their social media, and the more they tell themselves, it's the little engine that could, yes I can, the more we can excel and the more we can all achieve. And you can quote me, you can cut back to this clip, right?
Yes.
This is the future of sports entertainment in Southeast Asia.
Without question.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because a lot of promotions are competing with one another.
Right.
And they lock down fighters into contracts to where they can't compete in other promotions, right? Which limits their opportunities. With GMA, we're already starting to see, we're not even 1 year old yet, organizations from different countries are coming up with ways on their own to expand GMA into their country. Myanmar, Cambodia, and Thailand just this week already have ideas. How can we create a road to GMA? How can I help find a venue for you, Johnny? How can I help create a pipeline for Myanmar fighters to go into GMA? Because GMA just presents itself as a partner organization that wants to elevate everyone else.
Okay,
what I mean?
Let me add to that, right? So there are kind of like two types of people. Maybe there's more, but in my head right now, okay? So when some people think about competition, their default mentality is, I want to stop you. I don't like that you're growing, so I am going to do what I can to stop you from excelling. Okay, so then how does that help you get better? Whereas a GMA fighter, let's say, right? No. When someone goes, I want to compete, and you're looking at competition, what are you going to do? You're going to just hope that guy breaks his leg and doesn't make the fight and you win by default? That doesn't happen in the real world. No, that fighter goes, I'm going to train harder. I'm going to think more creatively. I am going to find the hole in your game so that I can beat you. That's what competition should be. It should be actually something joyful, And so, for example, like, you and I are kind of in a similar space, right? You're doing commentary, I do ring announcing. I could see you do commentary last night, and I could go, oh, Zac, oh my gosh, why does Zac get to do that? I should, you know what I'm saying? But what do I get from that? How does that change my life? No, what it does is, I can go and see how you're doing it. I can see how your team's doing it, and I can then think to myself, what tools or what technical things can I bring back to VPW so that we can add it?
Yeah.
We don't have that yet in terms of live streaming. We usually cut our pieces into short clips, right? But obviously a long-term goal would be to live stream our shows with commentary. So why would I just say, what, I'm going to pull your cords out so that you can't do commentary? There you go, I showed you. No. Competition should breed the best out of people, not the worst.
Yeah, especially.
And that's what I hope for everybody in professional wrestling across Southeast Asia. And I hope for mixed martial arts in Southeast Asia. And I can see it, right? Like, we are not competing and we don't need to stop each other. What we need to do is, if someone gets bigger, if someone gets better, if someone gets more attention, use that to motivate you to become your better self the next day.
Yes.
Don't try to stop them or be resentful, because that won't do anything for you in the long run.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Let it inspire you to become your best self.
Yeah, and if you really look at it, how many people, like just Saigon, we got 13 million people here.
Yeah. How
many people do jiu-jitsu? How many people do martial arts? It's in the thousands. Mm-hmm. Why would we compete with one another?
Right.
Well, why wouldn't we grow together? We got 100 million people in this country.
Yeah.
We have, in Southeast Asia, well over a billion. If you include Southeast Asia and South Asia,
yep.
Close to 3 billion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the community is so small that if you start to network, like, oh yeah, I know that guy from Pakistan. Oh yeah, I know the guy who started MMA in Pakistan. He's connected to this guy, There's absolutely no point competing with one another. We have to work together to bring this up.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it it has to have the mindset just like you and just like Johnny.
Yeah.
But you guys have two different perspectives, two different approaches, right? And I really do believe that masterminds like you two can really come up with some really creative ideas on how to expand both organizations in ways that we're not seeing this type of innovation anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
it's just amazing to see like the work that you guys are doing, and like, you know, to go back to it, it's if GMA builds themselves up to their best self, their biggest self, right? And VPW is doing the same. When we support one another, as we're kind of doing right now, the only thing that comes out of that is win-win. We're not splitting your audience, and that's the thing that I love, right? We can sit here and someone might be like, why is Zac, who does kind of like a more of a grappling mixed martial arts focus, talking to the pro wrestling guy? This guy hasn't fought a day in his life. This guy doesn't even know how to wrestle. He's just a ring announcer. But what it goes back to is that we are both trying to build something in a place where it's not been done before. And we have the most amazing talent. Like, I want to go back to our wrestlers. I would not be here without them. They are the ones that are providing me this opportunity to even sit here, you know?
Yes.
And there will never be a day when I wake up where if I'm not feeling like I can, like, why can't I get this done? Or this is not how I played out in my mind. I have the like inspirational knowledge that I have 20 guys on our roster who are telling me, you know, like, even if they're not in the room, just in my mind, I'm like, no, they got my back. Just keep going. Just keep going. And so I firmly believe like collaboration is always the best outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a great job of it, man. You know.
Well, I love it.
We took, you know, grappling. I'm a grappler, right?
Yeah.
Grappling's pretty boring to watch. It really is. Grappling, just straight grappling. Not even all grapplers watch grappling.
It's an acquired taste.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, when I was growing up as a teenager, going to wrestling terms, you sit around 9 hours, you might have 2 or 3 matches. You don't really know when you're going to wrestle and things like that. And the same thing was happening, you know, here, pretty much everywhere in the world. How can we make it? How can we make an event to where not only the competitors are excited to go, but it's fun to watch, you know? How can we take something boring and make it exciting? Right. You know, and let's make it 2 hours. Let's add some music. Let's add some prize money. Let's add this, and this. Some commentary. Let's some professional photography.
Yes.
You know, things like that. And we really took a lot of that from just watching you and watching some of the other shows, right? And that's really what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember, like, you know, one of the things that was kind of liberating for VPW was, you know, we were trying to figure out exactly like what are we? You know what I mean? Because we're closer to Japan, and Japan's got a big wrestling scene that's very stiff and strong. Then there's the American style. Then there's luchadors in Mexico, which is high flying, you know? And in Vietnam, it's like, well, you guys are the first. And you could see when the guys first started out, I think there was like a little bit of testing, like what exactly are we? You know, I think initially it was almost more drawn towards Japan. Some people would now say we're a bit more American style. But the most liberating thing is that whiteboard is clean. We're the ones writing the definition for what Vietnamese professional wrestling is.
Absolutely.
And that's the same. How do you make it entertaining? Throw everything at the wall. Because what do you have to lose? There was zero before you. So you might as well go for it and just try everything and see what sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Carey, you know, 45 minutes goes by so fast when we're talking. You know, do you have any last words to say? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Yes.
Last things, August 16th, VPW the Rumble, baby. 25 men will enter the ring, but only one will reign supreme. This is not just any match. This is once a year. This is the most in-demand match of all year, baby. Okay? The winner gets the VPW sure shot, a guaranteed title shot, anytime, anywhere.
It is incredible. It is an incredible show. Even if you don't like pro wrestling, I do encourage you to go to his show. You can learn something, especially if you have a show yourself. That wraps up episode 12 of the Gods of Martial Arts Beyond the Fight podcast. Last night, we had our biggest international event in Vietnam's history, giving out 5 championship belts. GMA 07. The next event, GMA 08, is going to be on the 6th of September here at GMA Arena on a Saturday night, 7 p.m. Can't wait to see you guys there.
I'll be front row, baby. Come say hello.
That's right. Goodbye. See you later.